Hi everybody, how are you? Good. My name is Rebecca Henderson and I am new to Dogs Inc. I've been here about 99 days. 99 days, wow, yeah, 99 days. Prior I actually was consulting here, so I'm not totally new, but I've come to know. So I've been tasked with help to create the scent detection program. Lots of buzz going on about this, right? Everybody knows about it, right? Okay. How many of you are first-time puppy raisers? Okay, great. So you know where Alysia and I are both coming from. We're new to this room too. I moved here from Bangor, Maine. It's quite a change right now. Yes, your nighttime temperatures are our highest temperatures that we ever see. I was owning a kennel up there for 25 years. I sold that kennel a couple of years ago, but I've been a professional dog trainer and working in all aspects of dogs for about 35 years. So I'm really excited to take on this role. I'd like to introduce you to Alysia Santos, who is the assistant manager of the scent detection program.
Hello everyone, my name is Alysia. I'm also new here as a staff member. I have been on site, this is day 10, so I'm brand new. And I have joined you guys from California, so I'm also getting a little shock to the system with the weather this time of year. But I actually have lived in Florida before. I went to college up here at UCF, and funnily enough, Christy, I also have a degree in psychology. Yes, I actually raised a puppy, and Carrie was my puppy raising regional manager is what they were called at the time, yes. So she was my regional manager. My puppy Cruiser graduated and is placed with a veteran, and he lives in Alabama, and I'm very lucky to stay in contact with them. So he's still working, and he's a good dog. But beyond that, I raised a puppy here. I moved back home to California, and I've worked with dogs in boarding facilities, training programs, and then also raised 4 more puppies in the meantime, all of who have been placed as mobility service dogs. So I'm very proud of all of my working puppies. In addition to that, I was hired on at another program called Early Alert Canines based out of California. And I was hired to run and lead their COVID detection program. So that's where my scent work knowledge comes from. I have now as my pet dog, the dog who was my COVID dog. She's traveled here with me. And that was just a super fun program to be a part of. It went from a 3-month contract to a 3-year program. So I was really proud of all the data that we took in our partnership with California Department of Public Health. So that was really fun, and I found my way back to Dogs Inc.
Great addition, everybody. So, do you guys know where the scent detection program came about? Okay, so there was a conversation it's been several years, but once upon a time, Dogs Inc. did a COVID detection program, right? It was very successful, they did a good job. So what happened was that kind of went away, when COVID kind of went away, and Titus was thinking, you know, we have these dogs that we want to place, and some of them are sniffy, and we really, you know, some of them have some body sensitivities, and there's different things that we're overcoming. So we're looking for a new avenue to place them. So I did a lot of research. We looked at cancer detection and determined that really didn't fit Dogs Inc.'s philosophy and style. That's more of a laboratory-based setting. That's not really helping someone one-on-one at this point. And so kind of leaned towards the medical detection and discovered that diabetic alert dogs are absolutely necessary and needed in this country. There's very few organizations that are doing it, and the ones that are doing it are in California, and the ones that are doing it really well are in California. There's really nobody on the East Coast. There's a lot of self-trained diabetic alert dogs, but not any organizations. So this gave Dogs Inc. the opportunity to create a landmark program. And what we're doing is we're working really hard behind the scenes trying to create a first-class program that will be scalable and replicable for other organizations that are interested in doing this sort of program down the line. So, and in the meantime, we're going to place more dogs, we're going to help more people. So all those things that Dogs Inc. is famous for, right? So, Alysia is going to talk to you a little bit about what diabetes is.
First, with a show of hands, does anyone know anyone who has been directly or indirectly affected by diabetes, whether it's type 1 and 2? It's a lot of people here. Yes, so type 1 and 2, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between them. Type 2 is a little bit more common. It's what you think of initially when you hear diabetes. That is something that's caused or in conjunction with just lifestyle, genetics play a huge role in that as well. But type 1 is actually an autoimmune response. There are genes that you have, and it just kind of lays dormant, and it can be triggered by a whole number of things. The scientific world doesn't quite know what it is that triggers quite yet. But if you guys remember COVID, just 5 years ago, that has triggered a whole lot of type 1 in people. So numbers are going up, and it is affecting quite a lot more people. I did also want to show you guys kind of just what a day looks like. For someone with a working pancreas, it's going to be that chart with the yellow highlight behind it. We'll start our morning off, we have our breakfast, so our blood sugar kind of goes up, but it'll level out until you get those feelings of hunger or maybe a headache around lunchtime. You eat and your blood sugar goes back up. It'll level down again, and same thing for dinner. That's just something that happens. Our pancreas is working. We don't have to think about it. Someone with type 2 is typically at a more elevated blood sugar throughout the entire day. You can see it kind of fluctuates throughout the day, but it's just overall high, which is difficult to manage as well. But someone with type 1, whose pancreas does not work at all, experiences extremely rapid shifts. So it's unpredictable. This one kind of over-exaggerates the mealtime fluctuations, but it can happen a lot more throughout one day. A dear friend of mine told me that she deals with about 800 life-changing decisions every single day. And she's really proud that her dog is next to her working through that. But can you imagine 800 times a day, basically doing the work of an organ inside of our body? It's pretty incredible what type 1s have to deal with in and out of their days. So the impact, we kind of got a little snapshot of that in here with the raise of hands. There's 38.4 million people diagnosed currently with diabetes, and about 1.4 million new diagnoses every single year. Someone with type 1 can experience symptoms like vision loss, loss of limbs, kidney failure, stroke, and often even death. There is technology out there. Many of you guys might see those CGM monitors, the little guys on people's arms or legs or wherever they decide to put them. Those are just really common, and they're super helpful, but as we all know, technology often fails. So that's just something that our dogs can kind of tag along in and help and support a management system.
So let's talk a little bit about what a diabetic alert dog is and what they do. So we just talked about the technology. There is technology that exists, and there's some really exciting stuff on the horizon that's coming in that's going to be helping people with insulin-dependent diabetes. But right now, we're finding that diabetic alert dogs can beat technology by about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the dog, the person, and their technology. We're also seeing a reduction in the severity of the events that the person would experience, requiring less hospital stays, less medical intervention when they have a dog by their side. 67% drop, that's huge. It's a lot of money saved as well, right? If you're paying co-pays and all this stuff, that's going to save you a lot of money as well. Nighttime alerts. Alysia alerted me to a phrase, and I had not heard it. I'm appreciative that she gave this. It's a dead in bed. Dead in bed is what it's called. And there's a real fear for type 1 diabetics or insulin-dependent diabetics of not waking up. Your alarm's going off, maybe you don't hear it, maybe you're camping, you don't have cell service, maybe there's a malfunction. I mean, there's big issues with a handful of the CGMs right now. It's having some technology issues that they're just not alerting properly. So the dogs that we're hopefully trained, we're going to work in to reduce the severity of the glycemic events by about 50% through overnight severity, which is amazing. Obviously, savings on the healthcare costs. Depression in people with diabetes is often 50% greater than those without. And think about it, you're making those 800 choices a day, you're feeling isolated, maybe you're being singled out, right? I know I've noticed people with CGMs, I'm a very educated person, but if you imagine somebody always pointing that out or that sort of thing. So you're always kind of get that constant reminder that you're dealing with something very serious. And also we're going to find that there's an improved quality of life overall, that they're going to have a newfound confidence and an independence that they may not have otherwise had without the dogs. So, how are we doing it?
Alrighty, so how we do it. We are going to be training the dogs on scent samples, but what it is that they're actually alerting to once they're partnered up and the bond is strong is a glucose shift. So when anyone is having a rapid shift in blood sugars, you're actually releasing a very specific cocktail of what we call volatile organic compounds. And the biggest one being isoprene, but there's actually no technology out there that can replicate what it is that the nose is smelling. It is a scent that is the same across all human beings when any of us experience a rapid shift. So the dogs are able to smell this change, and it's their love of the game, their love of the alert, and their love of treats that will get them to be anticipating and getting those alerts before any technology does.
We're going to watch a little video here on how dogs use their noses.
Morning, Kelly. The tulips look great. Have you ever wondered how your dog experiences the world? Here's what she sees. Not terribly interesting. But what she smells, that's a totally different story. And it begins at her wonderfully developed nose. As your dog catches the first hints of fresh air, her nose's moist, spongy outside helps capture any sense the breeze carries. The ability to smell separately with each nostril, smelling in stereo, helps to determine the direction of the smell's source, so that within the first few moments of sniffing, the dog starts to become aware of not just what kinds of things are out there, but also where they're located. As air enters the nose, a small fold of tissue divides it into two separate folds, one for breathing and one just for smelling. This second airflow enters a region filled with highly specialized olfactory receptor cells, several hundred millions of them, compared to our 5 million. And unlike our clumsy way of breathing in and out through the same passage, dogs exhale through slits at the side of their nose, creating swirls of air that help draw in new odor molecules and allow odor concentration to build up over multiple sniffs. But all that impressive nasal architecture wouldn't be much help without something to process the loads of information the nose scoops up. And it turns out that the olfactory system, dedicated to processing smells, takes up many times more relative brain area in dogs than in humans. All of this allows dogs to distinguish and remember a staggering variety of specific scents at concentrations up to 100 million times less than what our noses can detect. If you can smell a spritz of perfume in a small room, a dog would have no trouble smelling it in an enclosed stadium and distinguishing its ingredients to boot. And everything in the street, every passing person or car, any contents of the neighbor's trash, each type of tree, and all the birds and insects in it, has a distinct odor profile telling your dog what it is, where it is, and which direction it's moving in. Besides being much more powerful than ours, a dog's sense of smell can pick up things that can't even be seen at all. A whole separate olfactory system, called the vomeral nasal organ, above the roof of the mouth, detects the hormones all animals, including humans, naturally release. It lets dogs identify potential mates or distinguish between friendly and hostile animals. It alerts them to our various emotional states, and it can even tell them when someone is pregnant or sick. Because olfaction is more primal than other senses, bypassing the thalamus to connect directly to the brain structures involving emotion and instinct, we might even say a dog's perception is more immediate and visceral than ours. But the most amazing thing about your dog's nose is that it can traverse time. The past appears in tracks left by passers-by and by the warmth of a recently parked car, or the residue of where you've been and what you've done recently. Landmarks like fire hydrants and trees are aromatic bulletin boards carrying messages of who's been by, what they've been eating, and how they're feeling. And the future is in the breeze, alerting them to something or someone approaching long before you see them. Where we see and hear something at a single moment, a dog smells an entire story, from start to finish. In some of the best examples of canine-human collaboration, dogs help us by sharing and reacting to those stories. They can respond with kindness to people in distress, or with aggression to threats, because stress and anger manifest as a cloud of hormones recognizable to the dog's nose. With the proper training, they can even alert us to invisible threats, ranging from bombs to cancer. As it turns out, humanity's best friend is not one who experiences the same things we do, but one whose incredible nose reveals a whole other world beyond our eyes.
Pretty amazing, huh? What they can do. You don't even think about it, right? It's just a nose. But it's so much more than that. So hoping we're going to harness that power.
And one day we're going to have a really cool branded video with dogs eat dogs and dogs eat clients. That'll be that. So how are we going to train our dogs? We have this really cool fancy scent wheel that was here for the COVID program that we're going to be utilizing with our scent training as well. We're going to be introducing scent samples and then training the alert behavior. We're still in discussion about what that behavior is going to be, and it might shift from person to person, but we'll be able to individualize that as we see fit. Dogs are going to learn how to differentiate between a scent that's in range, so a blood sugar that's within a working pancreas's range, and then one that's out of range. It can be high or low. As I mentioned before, it's going to be that VOC smell that happens before any shift that the dog eventually learns, but we're going to start with the target scent itself. The dogs are also going to be able to provide these alerts in real time and before any technology that's out there. Tasks that we're going to be training are going to include the alert itself. That's the most important job that they're going to have, and they will be able to shift or do their alerts based on any shift. So whether the blood sugar is taking a nosedive down or going way, way up for a peak, the dog's going to be able to allow their handler to have a heads up in knowing that that's coming. Another task we are going to be training is to fetch objects. So a lot of diabetics will have a med kit or something with things to care for themselves. They will decide what that is, but we're going to train the dog to retrieve those items. Overnight watch, as Rebecca mentioned a little earlier, is really important for someone who has type 1. Many people will actually do a lot of damage to their body in hopes of avoiding a low overnight. They just will eat a lot before they go to bed and skyrocket their blood sugar, hoping that they can make it through the night without that dive. Our dogs will be able to help them manage those overnight lows. Physical assistance, like all our dogs, are going to just provide some balance and stability. And of course, the emotional support that comes alongside with having a dog next to you, as I'm sure all of you are really well aware of by this point. Type 1 has an incredible rate of depression, unfortunately. So the dogs just offer that sense of companionship for them.
There's another video on how the dogs alert. One day this will also be Dogs Inc. branded and one of our dogs showing their incredible skills.
People with type 1 diabetes have to manage their condition with insulin. So to do this, they have to measure blood sugar levels regularly. And one of the dangers is that if they get the dose wrong, they can either be too high or they can go low to something which we and they call a hypo.
I'm Claire Pesfield and I've got type 1 diabetes. And that means that my body is unable to make insulin, which regulates my blood sugar level. So a hypo is when my blood sugar drops too low. And I can have minor hypos every day. They are not a problem, and they're easily picked up in most people. But severe hypos, when I need the help from someone else, I was experiencing every week. But since I've had Magic with my medical assistance dog, I haven't had a severe one in the 2.5 years that I've been together with it. Overnight are the worst times for me in these hypos. And obviously when you're asleep, your body doesn't always wake up to those warning signs. And when your body doesn't make those signs, your blood sugar can drop very, very low until someone realises. So the footage shows Magic. He's actually woken up and he's detected my blood sugar is low. And then he's trying to wake me up to tell me that I need to do a test. And then if he's correct, I'll take action to prevent it getting any worse.
Did you guys see in the beginning of that? He kind of got up, he yawned, he stretched, he kind of caught that scent, and then he's like, I think I see where that's coming from. And then he honed in on Mom, and she wasn't waking up, but he kind of like looked at her, and so he pawed at her, and then he's like, she's not waking up. I'm going to give her a little bit more. You know, that increase of alert is something that we're going to really work hard on, is that the dogs have to have a little bit of a disobedience. You know, and be like, no, I'm fine. No, you're not fine. You're not fine. And really, so that's something we're going to have to really look for in the dogs that we work with.
People with
Oh, that's what I had to do.
All right, so the qualities that we're looking for in dogs. Pretty typical of all labs. We're looking for food-motivated dogs. That is going to be their reward for the entire time they're alerting. Environmental competence. We're also looking for sound dogs that are able to, navigate any environment with their handler at their side. Sniffy behavior is always nice. It's something that these guys do pretty naturally. We are looking for a little bit of investigative behaviors, but what we really love is people-focused and independent thinkers. She mentioned a little bit of independent thinkers in terms of if you tell the dog to down and you're going to go over here and do your dishes, is that dog going to be able to say, I actually smell it and I need to get up and I'm not going to listen to the cue that you just gave me. That's kind of what we're going to be looking for in all of the dogs. But you guys are doing a great job of building these foundations already. We've been seeing dogs around campus, well, I have the last 2 weeks, and I'm just so proud to see how these dogs are navigating the campus with their handlers and instructors.
The other thing too is looking around this group, you guys are always like, oh, my dog's a little sniffy, my dog's got natural investigative behaviors. Well, we're going to talk about your roles in a minute. So we're going to talk about the human part of the team. We are going to be focusing on 2 different tracks for these dogs. There will be public access dogs, dogs that will accompany their people everywhere. And then there'll be a buddy team, not trademarked, not sure on the name yet. But that will be a team that will stay home, right? So their bigger focus is their nighttime alerts. They can manage it throughout the day, like Claire said. She's like, I can handle the day. I got it. I'm awake. I'm looking at my technology. But at night is when I really need the help. So we're going to be looking at dogs that can stay home and that don't necessarily need that public access. Our humans side of it, our students that we're going to be looking for, all ages. I know there was some talk that we were going to focus on teenagers. That will come eventually. Because this is a brand new program and we're trying to make it the best we can in the entire country, we want to make sure that we're doing it right. So we're going to be working with people of all ages at this point. We're going to be focusing on people that live within a local area to start. And that's because we are going to have a lot of interaction with those people that we to train their dogs. People must be insulin dependent, have frequent or severe lows, must be 1 year post-diagnosis. There's a little honeymoon period at the beginning. It's not a good honeymoon, that's a terrible way of saying it. There's a period of time when you're first diagnosed that your blood sugars are everywhere and you're trying to figure out your body and how do you work with it without a pancreas and stuff. So those people really have to concentrate on their medical plans before we give them a dog. So that's something we want to make sure that they understand how their body works and before we place a dog with them. We are going to place the dogs locally initially. We want the people to understand that this is a scent training that continues long after placement. So you'll see with the guide dogs and the service dogs, they go out and they're really well trained. And you can take a dog into traffic if you're a guide dog or something pretty quickly after you get them home. With the scent training, this takes time to build. This is a relationship that they have to build. This is a conversation that the two have to have. So post-training is actually going to be really important for us to do the follow-ups and continue to help that person to foster that relationship. And frequent follow-ups. I mean, our follow-up schedule is really crazy. It's going to be like weekly, then monthly, then annually. There's a lot of connection, but they obviously can reach out to us at any time to help troubleshoot any issues that are going on. This first group of people, we're going to ask a lot of them. We need a lot of data, and they're going to kind of be our test subjects in a way. They're going to give us a lot of information, so we want people that are really engaged in this process for this first group. How are we going to measure success? How do we know we're doing the right thing when we're getting good dogs out there? So when we graduate dogs from here, they're going to have an 80% or better alert rates. So that is correct alerts. That's not false alerting. That's not missing an alert, right? There's 3 different things, right? A correct alert, a false alert, and a missed alert. So we're going to be looking at those things and come up with an 80% greater accuracy in its most simplified terms. We're also going to be looking at improved A1C levels over the course of a year. We want to make sure that we're placing dogs with people and the dogs are doing the job, right? They're helping those people improve their lives by reducing their A1C levels. And then we're going to have a lot of self-reporting, a lot of surveys that are going to go out. We're going to be checking in with them. We want to make sure that they're having less severe events. They're having less hospital visits and complications and less expense. We want to know that we're making a difference. It's going to be really important for us to collect a lot of data so we can really say to the world, this works. This works great. Because there is still a little bit of a pushback in the medical community regarding diabetic alert dogs. And we want to be able to say, hey, we did the math, we did the science. Check it. we're willing to have you check it because we really believe that what we're doing is proper and correct and reputable and scalable.
Alrighty, so we've mentioned a few times scent samples. I'm sure you're wondering where do those come from. Initially, we're going to be collecting from volunteers who are insulin dependent, so someone who is experiencing rapid shifts, whether it be to low or high. We are planning to store them in freezers. We're creating currently, like yesterday, that's all we talked about, making little packet kits that will go out to someone who's interested in helping us out. It's already going to be pre-made. There's going to be really fancy video instructions. We're really excited to get to working with the rest of the dogs and team on stuff like that. So those are going to be stored here on campus in freezers, and then refrigerators as we're handling them, taking them out for the scent training themselves. We are going to be following lots of protocols about safety and confidentiality. So if you or someone you know is interested in donating those, their information will be safe. No one outside of Rebecca and myself will know that they are the ones who are helping us train the dogs.
What kind of samples are we collecting?
Oh, thanks. We are initially going to be doing saliva and sweat samples. It sounds icky, but it's not as icky as it sounds. We're going to be doing both because they are both kind of seen as acceptable in the medical detection field. We eventually want to narrow it down to just one, but with us starting and kind of learning as we're going through this process, it was important that we take a look at it and find what works best. We'll have a chance for questions at the end, I promise. Alrighty, so if you guys can pull out your phones, we have a QR code for everyone. This is going to take you to an interest form if you or someone you know is interested in helping us to collect scent samples. This is going to be a super important piece of our program. We cannot train dogs if we don't have scent samples. So if you could pass this along to your friends, your family, if diabetes comes up in a random conversation, pull out your phone and share this with them.
Yeah, you can take a screenshot of it too. This is just an inquiry form. This is not, you're not signing up for anything. This is just letting us know that you or someone you know might be interested. There's 3 options. There is donating a sample, there's volunteering on campus possibly, and then another. Maybe you know somebody who has a lot of information to share with us. We will be putting together an advisory board. So we're always looking for experts that want to join us in this information. Got it? Everybody got it? Okay, cool.
The QR code will also come up later in the presentation.
Yes. And if you're not technologically savvy, we will give you the link. All right.
All right, so how you guys are helping out our programs. You are raising dogs with food motivation and curiosity. I see a lot of happy dogs here who are getting lots of treats and I'm hearing lots of yeses, so that's amazing. We love that you guys are just loving up on the dogs and raising happy, healthy, confident pups. There's really not any major changes that are going to be happening in terms of puppy raising. That'll happen once they're on campus and they're divvied up and slated for our program later on. But for now, just reinforcing calm behaviors and distracting environments, and keeping them people and food motivated is fantastic. And you guys are already doing it.
Yeah, you're basically just doing it already. So don't change anything. So what happened next? Where are we going right now? So right now we're putting together the final protocols. I've had a lot of time to look at this. Alysia's had a number of years experience. Now we're merging those 2 things together. We will be doing initial training soon. Our goal is to hopefully start training our first dogs mid-August to the beginning of September, sample dependent. On March 26th, in March of 2026, we are hoping to place our first dogs. It's a length of time, but we need to make sure it's done right. And we're hoping to place 3 to 5 dogs in this first year. So not a huge number to start. Make sure we can do it right, and then make sure it's scalable so we can move on from there. So, I guess we are here now to answer the multitudes of questions I'm certain are going to be coming in. That is the QR code to the samples, and we just really want to thank you guys for everything that you're doing. So, okay, Rebecca.
Are you going to be collecting samples from people who don't have diabetes as control kids?
So we ourselves will probably donate some of those as well, but we're going to be asking for samples of 3 ranges. We're going to ask for lows, which is below 70, as measured by a CGM. then 71 to 179, which would be considered a normal or a blank, or 180 and above, which would be considered a hyper. Okay, so hypo, blank, and hypo, blank, and hyper. So the person that's doing the sample, we actually will have that variable because we need to teach the dog to recognize the shift. So by putting a normal scent in there, we want them to be able to walk by. And I hate the word normal, so I'm going to
Within range. It's
within range. Okay. Within a range sample. So we just want the dog to be able to kind of ignore that. We want them to smell the high or the low. Yep. Yes.
People that did like the sample have to live in a certain like distance here, do they have to be local or?
To start, yeah, we was to save on. We originally we have dreams of like sending out samples and having it coming back. But one of the things is samples have to come back cold, so it's an added expense to have to put it in dry ice and have it shipped or things like that. So to start, we're going to be asking for people that are local, that are willing to give those samples, maybe come here to campus, drop them off, or that sort of thing. Maybe someday too, we're going to ask the people themselves who are getting the dogs to submit samples in advance so we can fine tune the dogs' training on their sample. But the low sample is the same across all of humans. So that might not work. Yes.
I was just wondering if you partner with any diabetes companies by chance, or would potentially be a great source people with diabetes? And the second part to it is this program overseen by any type of government institution? Do you have to clinical trial and any FDA or something?
I'm going to take second first. No, it is not being overseen by any governmental organization or clinical trials. We are not publishing. We are not going that far into the scientific realm. Hopefully one day when we have a history of putting out dogs that are very successful, that we will team up with some organization or some university that wants to study, and we can, that's my dream, right, to get this published and be like, it really works, look, they proved it. So that would be amazing.
I'll add to that really quickly as well. That is where my history lies in my project with the California Department of Public Health. So I'm here assuring that we are collecting all the correct data so that someday, if we were to be approached or if we go to seek that out, we have the correct methods to go ahead and do that.
And as far as partnering with commercial companies, like some, like the Dexcoms and Libre and the Acquiesce and all of those, not yet, and not in any way. That is not in our purview. That will be something that philanthropy wants to do and marketing wants to do, that sort of thing. We may discuss certain protocols with people just to get their advice and make sure we're on the right track. Like I said, we want to put together an advisory board, and it may include people like that. We're looking at diabetic nurse educators to join us. We're looking at people who are insulin dependent who wants to join that. So it's a broad spectrum of people that would be interested in joining that. I got right here.
Yeah, so I have three. So
Okay.
one, kennels phase, because that's come up a couple times in different situations. So where are the dogs going to be housed and trained on campus? Are they going to be an assessment at both with you guys?
Great question. So right now, we are located over in the Student Fitness Center, which is just a random spot for us to be. There is talk of moving us to another building when we get going. We're still in that building phase, like literally and figuratively. Our dogs, the population of dogs that we are getting are not taking away from any of the other groups, okay? Just to make that very clear. We are kind of in the pipeline of dogs that maybe didn't make it as a guide, that didn't make it as a service dog for some reason. Even though we are technically a service dog, group or within the group, but our dogs are just an additional career opportunity for them. There's some dogs that just won't make it in some of those, and so instead of maybe going out to public service, maybe they are able to be handled by somebody, but they are a little bit more nose strong. They might come to us. We're not looking for the dogs that pull you down the street, though, to go get that smell over there. That doesn't work either. Those dogs are too focused on that smell. So that's where. So your good question. Don't have a great answer because we're still in the process of figuring out where we're going to be. We actually don't have a dog yet to train. 9 days. That's all she's been here. 99 days.
Just stay here.
Right.
So the other two parts kind of go together. So one, do you all have any idea what home placement, what the class, and then I I assume the dogs would get the same alumni benefits as the other dogs?
Yeah. The dogs will get the same alumni because they will technically be under the service dog umbrella eventually. So we do have a goal, and we're creating curriculum for the class. It's going to be a 10-day class here on campus. But initially, since we are focusing local, we plan to do home placements. Again, this is all in very early planning stages, so it may change. But the idea is we do one-off placements in homes to start, definitely for that March deadline that we're shooting for.
Yeah, and a class would be great because think about some of the reasons you're getting a dog, right? If you have anxiety or you're feeling isolated, you get to meet other people. You know, there's that component, we don't talk about it as much as some of the other components, but that camaraderie between the students is huge. And that's going to just make us more successful because they're feeling more successful. They have a community that they can, hey, your dog's doing this, my dog's doing, you know, that sort of thing that people can connect. So ultimately, I would love to do a class. I think we both would, just so we can build that relationship with each other, give them a chance to really bond together. Yes.
So the scent that we emit is universal?
It is, yes, yeah. Our body is actually always constantly emitting VOCs. This was with COVID as well. The COVID mixture changed enough that it was the same all the way across. Same idea with blood sugar changes. When there's a rapid shift, your body is dumping a different amount of isoprene, cortisol, things like that. There's just no science to tell yet what it is, but it is the same across all humans.
There is some studies going on with some technology. They're trying to work on electronic nose, and they're actually using dogs to identify the scent and then seeing what the dogs know. So they're kind of like using the dogs to be like, hey, oh, they figured it out. Let's see if AI can help us figure it out. So the dogs are better than AI, just so you all know, right? Put down the phone, pet a dog. So that technology may be coming, and that will help us in our jobs to figure out what the actual chemical compounds are. But at this point, that scent is universal across people. Any other questions? Yes.
How are y'all, I mean, you kind of answered this, but how are y'all choosing the dogs in the program, and then where in the process, like in the career pipeline, are dogs getting picked up? Are y'all going to pluck them right out of the street? Are y'all waiting to see if they are hitting the transfer pipeline? What is that?
Great question. So, my understanding of the pipeline, right? Breeding dogs, guide, service, skilled companions, skilled companions, then public adoption. That's it's not linear though, guys. It's not like straight up and down, right? These are creatures, these are living, breathing, animals. Things change all the time. So when we talk about pipeline, if we're dealing with robots, yep, that's what it looks like. If we're dealing with dogs. So there'll be a change of career back and forth. My understanding is the dogs that are going to be assigned to us are going to be dogs that guide or service are like, hey, we think this dog might work well for these guys. Even the skilled companion team, they're going to have dogs that are like, hey, we think they should go back to you guys because we found they have some really great attributes that you're looking for, and maybe they can go back to you. So it is a fluid process. It's a conversation amongst all the teams, between Jen and Emily and myself and skilled companions. It's all of us like getting together and really talking about it. So there's no dogs that are earmarked for us. It's not like we get this dog. That's not the point of this program. It's to add an option of career for dogs. It's not to create a whole new line of dogs, if that makes sense, right? We're just adding to the options. Yes.
Will these be dogs that would have gone into the RSM program? Are we still going to be doing partnering?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because there will always be dogs that are too drivey, right? There will always be dogs that you've seen the videos of them, right? They're just like,
they're looking for the dogs that'll drag you across the street to go smell where the squirrel was 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we want the dogs to go, hey, I think that's a squirrel. Oh, what? What's going on? We don't want the ones that are so driving like that. So no, there's no plans to change where dogs are going or anything. It's in addition to, just like the dogs are in addition to diabetic management. They're not taking their place of technology. We're not asking anybody like, hey, forget about your meters. You don't need them. You got a dog. No, they are just one of the trifold legs, basically, help keep you up. Yeah.
So then another follow-up to that.
Sure.
So then is the long-term, maybe 5-10 year plan to eventually have a string kind of specifically for you guys, like there are some enough for service?
Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, that is not something that's even in the wheelhouse at this point. But you know, Dogs Inc. is progressive and comes up with really creative ideas all the time, so maybe, maybe not. Don't know. Anybody else? No? Well, you can reach out to us at any time. You can grab that QR code. That will come straight to us, so we can answer some questions. There's a place there where you can ask some questions. If anybody's interested in donating samples, please reach out. If you want to ask us any questions, we're going to hang around here for a few minutes. So if you have anything you want to talk to us individually. So,
And thank you guys for all you do.
Yeah, you guys are great. Thank you so much.